This is Tank Abbott here with Hannibal, talking about my life and the things I did in the UFC and WCW. No lies, no bullshit, just the straightforward stuff. No little munchkins running around, no women running around unless they're making me a sandwich. And tune in and check it out, because I'm coming back and I'll be around.
This is Hannibal from thehannibaltv.com, and I am with UFC legend and mixed martial arts legend, as well as former WCW wrestler Tank Abbott, who's just recovering from a very serious surgery, I hear.
This is true. I finally got caught up with all my wildlife and blew a gasket on my liver, but thanks to Cedars-Sinai, I got a nice transplant and everything's moving right along.
And you were saying you lost about 100 pounds and you died 5 times on the operating.
This is true. It was not without complications. I died 5 times on the table, had over 6 strokes, and I'm still here though. I came back through it all, fighting. It was the hardest fight I ever had, but I'm here. I still won.
And for the fans watching, these questions are going to be all over the place, because I personally was planning on ordering them this afternoon, but I had a little accident at a training camp I was at, so we're kind of rushing into this interview, so the questions are not going to be in chronological order here.
No worries.
So we've heard you were involved in some type of early training, possibly in football. Is there any truth to this?
No, my dad's a football coach, lifelong football coach, and I kind of shied away from football. I did play it though, and I was more drawn to the wrestling mat, and I was wrestled in high school. But actually, when my brother was wrestling, I was 9 years old, and I started then. And I guess you can still say I'm a wrestler to this day.
And how did you start getting involved in weightlifting? Could you tell us some of your best lifts overall in competitions and in the gym?
Yeah, I never really lifted competitively. It was always a self-serving thing for me, just to set a goal and get it done. I fought and everything else, but I was getting in fights when I was a little kid. I wrestled since 9 years old, and I was drawn to that, and it's just something that you either have or you don't have. You don't watch something on TV and go, oh, I want to do that. You got to have a passion for it, and fighting is my passion.
Now, there's a story about Rick Steiner. I actually interviewed Rick Steiner, and he said that the altercation that you guys had in the crowd was real. And he also said in that interview I did with him that if the barrier hadn't been between you guys, he would have been able to double leg you, and it would have been over pretty fast. Was that a real altercation? And
well, Rick might have liked to see things his way on that, but if the barrier wasn't there, he'd probably still be laying there looking for help.
So that was real. You happened to be there at the show, and
sure, it was real, but when things start happening, I didn't want to get in trouble, so I didn't cross the line, so to speak. And Rick might have his version of things, I have mine. That's usually how it works out.
What do you think about the reputation Haku has in professional wrestling? Do you think it's legitimate? There's all these stories about him being the toughest wrestler that's ever lived in pro wrestling.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of that going around in the business, and if you have to kind of prove yourself. Brock Lesnar, I think he's proved himself. Haiku, I don't know his background. I don't know much about it, but he is what he is.
And we've heard that you were backstage friends with Norman Smiley in your WCW days. Is that true?
Yes, it's true, and I still keep in contact with him. which is kind of amazing in this business. He's a great guy, a good person, and what can I say? He's great.
And back to the Ultimate Fighting, you had a fight with Chemo, who I guess lives in this area. Do you stay in touch with him at all, and what are your thoughts on him as a fighter?
First of all, Chemo is from around here, but when I was fighting those days, my mother had passed away, and I was not mentally sound, and Chemo just got lucky. He fought me when I was physically there, but my mind was way far away. And I can tell you right now, I don't really remember much of it. It wasn't a fight that I really had anything working for positively. It was just show up and collect my paycheck because I didn't want to fight. And it says more that I showed up than anything else. In other fights in the business, when Dana was in control, Dana White, I didn't need to be there, but because I am a man and of my word, I showed up and fought for him.
And the Insane Clown Posse has said that in WCW you scared them more than anyone when they would party with you, because they said you would drink and take your shirt off and start challenging random people to fights.
Yeah, you never know. that could have happened. I'm a big fan of their music, and yeah, there was a lot of nights that some guy that looked like me got up drunk and got up on the tables and tore his shirt off and said, "Let's go."
In 2016, there was rumors that you were going to face Dan Severn, and I guess that fight never got together for whatever reason. Can you shed any light on that?
It was just basically shady business going on, and when it came time to put the thing together, the fight, I was there willing to make it happen. And according to the Arizona State Athletic Commission Board, I wasn't healthy enough to fight, which if I have one leg, I'll be in there. So
yeah.
And that's basically what happened. Nothing happened with Dan. Nothing happened personally with anybody. It was just kind of a fight that never took place because of background politics.
I see. Now, Tank, you've said in the past that you like Butterbean and you're friends with him. What are your thoughts on him as a fighter?
I like Butterbean. You know what? That guy is tough. A lot of people comment about how fat he is and the whole 9 yards, but that guy gets in there and he bangs away, and I admire that in him.
Now, is there any truth to this story that in WCW the higher-ups got upset when you pulled a real knife in the WCW ring against Big Al in the ladder match, and how is Big Al doing these days?
Big Al is coming to my wedding. I'm going to get married. He just came in from Hawaii. And yeah, it is true. They didn't like me pulling out my knife. But see, when that went down, there was turmoil all in WCW higher ups, and they basically set me free and said, put your match together. And then I would ask people to help me, like Arn Anderson, and they would just shake their head and go, Tanker, I wish I could help you. Just do your thing. And no one seemed to tell me you couldn't pull a knife out, and I pulled a knife out.
Did any WCW wrestlers express that they may want to test you at all in the ring? Because sometimes wrestlers will get a little stiff.
Start believing their own gimmick. No, not really, because I never really wanted to go there. I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky guy, unless you step on my toes. And so no one stepped on my toes. It was at least not to my face, maybe behind my back, which is professional wrestling 101.
What are your memories of the Scott Ferozzo backyard rematch event that seemed like a big mess all around?
Really, it wasn't a mess. The only thing that was messed up with it is a friend of mine that came from that fight, Brian Grooms. He didn't have the cameras all put together, and they were looking for a venue. They were going to put it in an old abandoned bar, and I wasn't down for illegal fighting. I didn't want to get arrested for that. So we just ended up doing it in his backyard, and it is what it is. Fatso got what he deserved. For the first fight, I needed knee surgery, but once again, I went in there. I'm scared of no one at any point in time. I might even pick up some fights with after my liver transplant. I'm not afraid of anybody or about anything.
And you coined the term steroid skull. Could you elaborate on that term?
Well, the best way to say it is not really say it. Just check out Tito's head. I mean, that guy's head, he looks like Curious George. And I've known him before his head blew up. His body and everything else is obviously like Barry Bonds. You take steroids, your head blows up, and you get a sagittal crest. And basically that's, you can tell when people do steroids and when they don't. And he was one of them, that's for sure. He's the poster boy for a steroid-affected body and head.
Why did your podcast end after only 4 or 5 shows? A lot of people found it very entertaining. And what's your relationship like with the old host, Duke?
We never really had a relationship with Duke, and as time went by, he kind of set up everything, and I'd come home and just shoot it out right in the first, hour or two while I was drinking cocktails. And then as time went by, things started going crazy for him. And he thought he was the show. It was kind of like something that was not the way it should be. And so I just shut it down because it was no fun for me anymore. For the most part, I do things because they're fun.
And what are your thoughts on Ken Shamrock these days?
Wow, that's a name from the past. I don't really have much thoughts for him. It's not even on my radar screen.
When you said you could beat Ronda Rousey, apparently Don Fried enjoyed that segment and agreed with you. For those that haven't heard about that whole situation, could you talk about what your thing was with Ronda?
Sure, that happened a long time ago. Somebody was interviewing me or what have you, and they asked me about Pretty Boy Floyd, and I just giggled and laughed and said he had knocked the living stuffing out of her, which would happen. I mean, it's not even funny, it's ridiculous. But then she turned her attention, I think, towards me, and I found the whole thing just completely ludicrous. I seriously believe there's no woman on this earth that could even put a dent in me. And she's one that it would take forever for her to even step on my toes, much less anything else. She couldn't hurt me. She's a woman. I mean, you have to figure it out. There's a reason why there are women here and there's men here. The men go out and hunt and gather, and women sit around and cook and make beds. That's what's up.
And what do you think about her being in WWE now?
Oh, I find it amusing. I guess she's getting over, but I don't understand why. You know, the people, the crowds, and everybody else has to realize, once again, she's a woman. I mean, I guess she's competing against women, which is fine, but once again, like if I was to wrestle her, it would be an absolute joke. It would be a murder. And she would be, she'd have to make me a sandwich. That's what I said. You have to make me a sandwich if you lose, and if I win, or if you lose, I'll give you $100,000. And if not, you have to make me a sandwich. And I don't think, that thinking about that she'd be able to make me a sandwich because she'd be so beat up.
And I was told to ask you about JD's Landing, and apparently you like to do karaoke there at one point.
Oh, absolutely. That was one of my old watering holes that no longer exist, but a lot of debauchery and insanity took place in that place. Things we can't talk about.
What were some of the songs that
you want to get to my karaoke stuff? Well, I get down. I sing everything, so it doesn't really matter.
Now, you fought in UFC Japan, right? And you were pitted against Yoji Anjo or someone like that.
Yeah, Anjo came here, and I was with him in WCW. And, that was all these Japanese people screwing up my head here. They all look alike Hillary Clinton. Anyways, Anjo was a fighter from Japan, and I fought him in a UFC match and took care of him pretty easily. And I was thinking of the Great Muta in WCW.
Kejimoto or something.
Yeah. And he liked to spit green dust or something like that. And I remember working with him, and I said, "Hey, bro," and he's kind of like pretending broken English. And I said, "You're not spraying that green shit on me. It's not going to happen." And he looked all puzzled, and because that was his get-over maneuver.
Yeah.
And I go, "This is not going to happen." And he was all confused, like, "I have to, this is what." I go, "You don't have to do that with me, so go find somebody else to do it too." And if you go through the archives, you'll see that he never did. Although I might have, you never know.
What kind of money did you make in those days?
Oh, just money. It was money. It just was good money, that's all.
Better than No Holds Barred at the time?
Yeah, but see, that's the whole difference. And No Holds Barred fighting with me is my passion. I think about it, and that's what makes me sick when you have the scumbags like Tito. Tito is a manufactured, made-up guy that they did because the billionaires used to own the show. And so they pumped so much money into him just to get over. And they made a weight class for him, and he's the biggest con man, lying thief, scumbag out there on earth. And he's like, he got over on just about everybody, making him feel whatever. He always had an excuse for his dumb maneuvers. "I'm just a kid," and he's like 30 years old. But as far as I digressed on that might have thrown some foil in my cavity-filled mouth. But what were you asking about?
The money between.
The money wasn't a big deal for me. It never has been, because I like to have passion and love what I do, and that's what went down. So that's been my whole way, my whole life. And the money was good. I was their first real star, so they didn't really want me to go anywhere else. So I was receiving a check every 2 weeks from them not to go anywhere else. where all the other guys were fighting because they're starving, but they couldn't put asses in the seats. So they had to hang on to me. I'm the only real true fighter there. And because everybody was trying to make up a gimmick there, the claw. Just like, oh, my martial art's better than your martial art. And martial arts is pretty much a television joke. I mean, you think Bruce Lee is going to be wet? He's as bad as Conan O'Brien, or whatever the Irish little midget is. The leprechaun dude. Like, you really think he's going to do something to a man that weighs 250 pounds naturally, never ever took a drug, and benches over 600 pounds, never drug-free, always. But the point is, back to the thing, it's just like Ronda Rousey. They made all this stuff up, and so the UFC has come full circle. You got a bunch of clowns and characters that run out there fighting, that leprechaun guy, Conan Leprechaun.
Yeah, Conor McGregor.
Whatever, that was O'Connor. But that guy couldn't beat me up when I was a freshman in high school, and you're trying to tell me he's a tough guy, and it just rolls back right in with Ronda Rousey. She's a tough chick. Come on. I mean, are you serious? I mean, I'm pretty sure after I turned 13, there's no woman on this earth that could beat me up. Not a he, she, or anything else like that. Just a woman. I mean, that's what everybody knows. What was it? The Rock, your role, make me a sandwich. So that's that. That's not where I came up with that. Maybe it was floating around in my subconscious. But she could make me a sandwich, and Conan O'Brien could feed it to me.
Any memories of your fight with Kimbo Slice, who's now passed away pretty young? But...
Yeah, rest in peace, Kimbo. Yeah. That fight was interesting. We had a 2-hour meeting because they thought we were both from the street and that there was going to be some not obeying the rules going on. And one of them was the no punching to the back of the head. And for the most part, it seems that he understood that, I understood that, and everything else. So I was punching with him, and so I went and shot a double, kind of tabletoped myself out, and he hit me in the back of the head after I was told and watched it on the TV or whatever, tapes, rewind stuff. And he hit me blatantly in the back of the head and he knocked me out. I remember waking up on the canvas going, holy fuck, where am I at? And we were in Florida, so I'm like, this is Disneyland or something? And I open up and I get up and I stagger to my feet and I look over to my corner and they're like, what's going on? Because they never seen me knocked out. And I'm like looking at them, no, what the fuck's going on? And then I go, ready to go. And I was on Queer Street, didn't even know what the hell was going on. And he came up and rattled me with a combination. But that's not an excuse, but it's what happened. All my losses, I can have pretty good arguments for why I lost that were legal, but you pull over on the side of the street at midnight drunk off your ass and someone hits you with a tire iron, you don't get a say, hey, you're cheating, so that's what happened.
And you had a couple of memorable appearances on the Jimmy Kimmel Show. Any thoughts on that and the appearance where Andy Dick jumped on your back?
Yeah, that was all just something that just happened. It was kind of like, whoa, what's going on here? And then I said, okay, you want to go there? I'll show you a little bit. And I broke his watch and threw him on the chair. And at that point, I thought he was scared. I'm pretty sure he was. I kind of gave him a little 1-2 shadow, like, here, I could just destroy you right now. But that's what it was. It was all ad-libbed, and it just happened.
What does 86 mean? You wore that on your shirt sometimes on your way to the ring.
Oh, well, not me, but people that look like me used to go into bars and cause a ruckus and kick some ass. And the owners or the managers would say, you're 86th for life, which is meaning you're kicked out for life. So.
I see. And someone asked what your pal Bird Dog is doing from the video.
Oh, Bird Dog, yeah. He's living in a trailer. He's a Vietnam vet, and he lives in a trailer over in Long Beach, and he's still around. He's growing like crazy. His boiler is like the biggest beach ball you ever seen in your life. And he has some health issues, but yeah, he's coming to the wedding, and I have good lunches with him now and then.
What's your thoughts on Brock Lesnar getting the draw, I guess, in his last fight due to the banned substance failure, and how do you think he's going to do against Daniel Cormier in that match that they say is going to happen?
Well, I don't know how you get caught for steroid use, but I guess he did. I mean, you have to really guess. You look at him, you could smoke a cigarette in the rain with his forehead and sagittal crest. It's so big from drug use. But you know what? I have a little thing saying that I've always said to myself, because I've always been 100% natural, and that is, people have to take drugs to be like me. I mean, maybe be full of myself, but I don't see anybody else benching over 600 pounds, running marathon. I've done just about all the physical things you could do. And so I've been blessed with that. So when these guys get caught, it's like, what do you say? Told you so, or you're cheating, and it's fairly obvious to everybody. So Brock, and he's fighting, I don't know who. Daniel
Cormier, he's the champion now. He's a wrestling background. He's had quite a few victories lately.
Okay, so he's matched up with him. Not knowing him right off the bat, like I said, I spent 107 days in ICU at Cedars-Sinai. So, and I also died 5 times, and I had 6, maybe more strokes. So it was like a clutter. So I been out of commission a little bit. I'm looking forward to this interview, because I'm getting fired up again to go out and do things that I love to do, my passion, and that is to kick ass. And so his drug use, and it's probably helping him out. So, if he goes into it, they're gonna test you, and you're gonna get found out. I think a lot of people I've noticed in my life in this business is that when they take steroids, it fucks with their head, because they all of a sudden think they're tough guys on top of their phony muscles and everything else. So him thinking he's tough and he's got to do what he's got to do might not work out for him without the steroids.
And I was told to ask you, I don't know how to pronounce this properly, but Tikiana incident. Apparently it was some bar fight. You got into a bar fight after UFC 13 with Mark Coleman.
Oh, that was a long time ago. Wow, time flies. Yeah, no, that happened. There was a boxing trainer that was there, and he was kind of an arrogant ass, and stepping on people and people that worked there. So they buzzed my ear and said, "This guy's an asshole." And I'm like, "Oh, really? Who?" And they're going, "Al Stanky, he's over there." So I went over in his area, and it didn't take long before he noticed me, and he said something smart. So I ear cuffed him and slapped him upside the head, and then the whole riot took place in this cocktail party. You know, I never understood why you have a cocktail party with a bunch of fighters. I mean, it's not something you want to do. And so everybody just went apeshit crazy. And Mark, I had a lot of respect for him, still do. But he was a wrestler, I was a wrestler, and he was down at his first show. Before he was going to fight, I was there down in the bar kicking back some drinks. And he goes, "Oh, I'm not drinking, I'm just, I got to get out and do something, I'm nervous." And I go, "Hey man, it's just like a wrestling match, don't worry about it, you're overthinking it." And ever since then we kind of had a little bit of a bond, or not, a bond's too strong of a word, but we had a kind of a "hey, what's up" thing at the shows. So when somebody cold cocked me, which was no big deal, and then he tackled that guy, and so it was like me and Mark and all us stooges that hung out with us fighting the other side of the party and all their stooges, and it got stopped, and then they were talking about banning it and the whole 9 yards, but nothing came of it.
And you trained amateur wrestling with Mark Schultz a little bit. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I went to BYU because I was going to fight in Denver, and I knew that altitude was the same. So I went there and trained 5 weeks with Mark, and Mark is a cool guy. He's definitely out there, but he's a cool guy, and we ended up working with him for like 5 weeks, and I improved on my wrestling. When you wrestle with Olympic champ and all that, your skills rise to their level. So I was really fortunate to have that.
And I guess Chuck Zito once said several years ago that a TV show was proposed where you and Dallas Page and Danny Trejo would go to bars and places that have problems and straighten them out. Any reason why that show never panned out?
You would have to ask the people that are in that thing. I guess someone said that didn't make sense, and the people that put it up didn't bite on it, so it never happened.
And how did you develop such a well-known and fearsome reputation as a street fighter around Huntington Beach?
I think that's pretty self-explanatory, but once I got to the level of a sophomore in high school and I could drive a car, the town got smaller and the county got smaller, and a lot of people got beat up, and I wasn't one of them.
Have you heard that Carl Worsham recently died from a heart attack, and what are your thoughts on him?
Yes, I did hear that. It's Cal Worsham.
Okay.
And he did, I guess. I don't know the details of it all, but rest in peace. He's a warrior. That guy, successful at certain levels and stuff, but you could tell he was in it for the passion. he wasn't in it for all the wrong reasons, but I think a lot of people are nowadays. And he was in there for the love of it. And like I said, rest in peace, Kyle.
What does the drink that you call the Rooster consist of?
Oh, that was not really the Rooster. The Rooster is a term that applies to everything. It's when your brain stops working and you want to say, hey, hand me that basketball, but you can't remember basketball, so you say, hey, hand me the Rooster. But so the cocktail that I usually drink was pretty much just straight vodka all the way up to the top, and then I would take cranberry from the side, and I'd take sips, I'd suck it up in the straw with my finger and drop it into the thing till it was like a pink, and that was perfect. And it'll end you up with a shot liver if you do it long enough.
Yeah, I guess so. Now, you've said over and over again that modern MMA fighters are more like amateur wrestlers, and that the no-holds-barred fighters were more real fighters to the core. Mm-hmm. Are there any of the modern MMA fighters that you think could have done all right in the no-holds-barred?
No, call me pig-headed, but, you know, the bottom line is that it's always been wrestling and boxing and then submission. And I've been saying that since the first day I stepped on the plane to come to UFC 5. And then they finally came around, and it was their idea to call it mixed martial arts. You know, and it's mixed martial arts nowadays, but it's just basically wrestling, boxing, and submission. And I excelled at all three of those. Not so much submission. I had a mental block, like it really never really did anything. If somebody choke somebody and it was there, okay, I'll do it. But as far as actually just channeling myself into doing submission was not something that I was into.
It's more fun to punch people anyways.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. There's something about when you hit somebody good and if they're not knocked out, but they dance around like, holy shit, that hurt. And just give it a little grin and give them another one.
What was your favorite person to knock out?
I don't really have a favorite, but I do kind of, only because of the freak factor of it all. And it was that one, the guy, I don't even know his name, he folded up like a lounge chair and his neck was bent against the fence. What the hell was his name? He was see, these people I don't remember, but I remember him folding up against like a line, his legs folded under him, and he was in the fence and his head was to the side. He was completely knocked out, and I thought that was beautiful.
Why was Yoshida your only Pride fight?
That's all just promoters and stuff like that. The real promoters of the UFC is Bob Meyerowitz, and he had Campbell McLaren. He's doing the Sex Pistol. Campbell, his last name I don't know. David Isaacs, who pretty much ran the show. All those guys were at the beginning, and they were starting off finding out what would work, and it was basically honest, and it was raw, and that was the good of it. Now, flip to the page now, you have a couple billionaires basically manufacturing a product that people want to watch, but it lacks the truthfulness of what real fighting is to me. And then you got clowns like the Leprechaun and everybody else. Those, it's just ridiculous. Like, why don't they have, that sounds kind of foolish, but the thing is, just get the two toughest guys in the room and fight. We don't need to whip out the scale and say, hey, I weigh as much as you do, let's fight. Just let it go. Like, I'll fight that, whatever his name is, the midget that made a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Lucky for him.
The Irish guy.
Yeah. Connor O'Brien. McGregor. But, like, that, you know, well, good for him, man. The guy knocked it out of the park with the dough he made. Can't go wrong with that. But, like, you know, come on now. And it's all manufactured stuff. Like, you know, Ronda Rousey is sitting there, and it didn't help that people that were in the organization she was a mistress to some of them guys. And so, lo and behold, now they have women fighting, and that's just ridiculous. I mean, that's just something they stumbled into because they had to, because of a love interest or something. I don't know if they have lust interest. Yeah, that'd be kind of hard. But you know, the thing is that's they stumbled into a lot of things. Who would have thunk that people that want to see the two biggest, baddest guys get in the ring and fight 3 times? I'm the only one that's fought in more tournaments than anybody else. All you weirdos out there, go look it up. I'm the only one that's fought in that many tournaments without, you know, no rules, no weight classes, and everything else. It was not an easy piece of work when I was doing it. You had one tough fight, you had like 30 minutes at the max to get up and get another tough fight, and then etc. And now it's commercialized or whatever. The honesty of it all is just, it's gone. But you know, it's kind of like generations. None of these punk kids, these millennials and everything else, they think they're mixed martial artists. None of them would even be around a real life fight if that was the truth of it all. So.
And speaking of the tournaments, how did you feel when you found out the Oleg Taktarov versus Anthony Miscus fight was fixed, allowing Oleg to have a free pass against you? And I guess the same thing happened with Don Fry and Mark Hall.
Right. You know, I wasn't just fighting fighters. I was fighting organizations, people that were all huggy-kissy before they fought each other. And so, like Anthony Macias, little Annie Macias, that guy's a little bitch from all who knows from what, but look at him, he's an idiot. And that guy fought, what's his name? Oleg Taktarov, and winks at him. On camera, mind you. He rolls out there and falls on his back. And it's like, are you kidding me? But it seemed like I was always fighting the whole crew. I was the one messing up their whole gig, and they couldn't help it. Like, they wanted to push their martial arts stuff and everything else, and I was the guy going, fuck, that doesn't work. Wait, what are you kidding me? Wake up. And knocking people out, and they got to see what really worked. And then you have these billionaire guys that buy it and try to mold a show to their liking so the rest of the public can take junior to, instead of soccer, they take them to mixed martial arts class. They slap a heavy bag and now you think they're all tough.
And when you knocked out Pat Smith in the elevator, is it true that some of the hotel staff found his teeth in the hotel hall?
Well, there, you know, I would sit there and say somebody looked like me that knocked him out, but I can't take credit for it. I didn't knock him out. Paul Herrera did. And we were riding down the escalator, and I guess they got in it to the night before. So Pat Smith started jumping around and put his hands up and goes, "Let's go." And Paul just knocked him out. And I guess the guy that looked like me lost his footing and might have stepped on his head in the way. But as far as a tooth, who knows? Sounds good, so to keep the rumor going.
And I know you're going to want to answer this one. What are your thoughts on Chuck Liddell versus Tito Ortiz 3?
Well, that was just a clown show. I didn't watch it. I saw the little clip of it on the internet afterwards. First of all, Tito couldn't beat himself out of a wet paper bag, and Chuck, who knows what Chuck does, but he's not what the Chuck that used to be. He's kind of punchy nowadays, and
yeah.
I don't know him. I've never really had a conversation with him. I don't think I would be able to. I don't think he could keep up. But he seems to be, that was odd, let's just put it that way, because Tito, like I said, he's got no power and he can't punch. So he's never, these clowns that claim to be MMA people run around and say all this stuff that they don't have any clue of hands and how to box. When I was training back to box in the day, I had all these guys that were excited that I was going to be the next White Hope, and I think I could have pulled it off if the Ultimate when it came around. But they had hand skill that I learned that go way back, and so like you got the clowns like Tito. That's ridiculous. Tito can't even punch. They used to say something, you can't box oranges at the Sunkist plant. But that's a true statement. So I thought Chuck was going to catch him. And the punch that Tito threw, it looked like, you never know though, went up with a knockout. So it was what it was.
And could you talk about why you were never made WCW World Champion?
I was just cruising on the road, doing my thing, and trying not to make any waves in the water. And Russo, I think it was Russo, I got told after the fact that they were going to make me heavyweight champion in some kind of whatever is it called when you have a bunch of people in the match?
Royal Rumble or Battle Royal.
Like a Royal Rumble, and I was gonna win it. And then everybody, all the boys freaked out and saying, he's not from this sport and he can't take it and all that kind of stuff. And so they ended up at the very end of the day, they told Sid Vicious that I was going to lose to him. But there was a lot of heat coming down the pipe on that one. They didn't want to give the strap to somebody that wasn't really a pedigree of professional wrestling, where actually, once I got into wrestling, I find it very, very fun, and I'm all into everything about the culture of it and everything else. So the powers that be did not let me win the strap.
What did you think about Eric Bischoff when you were dealing with him?
Eric was a great guy. All my dealings with him, he was straight up. One of the first things I said to him when we were having a meeting about me coming to WCW, and I said, he was talking to me, and I go, well, the main thing that makes me tick is honesty and integrity. And he goes, you have no problem with me on that? And I said, okay. And then we hammered out the deal and shook hands. And all the way to the last time I saw him, he has been a great guy.
Did you have any dealings with Vince Russo while you were there?
Yeah, I did. There was no heat, nothing like that. It was, he just seemed like he was always so busy. And when I came around to fit into whatever he was making up, he would okay, yeah, all right, we got this. I never asked him where we were going with it or anything like that. And that was it. Russo just seemed like he was busy all the time, and I was a project that he just needed to hammer out real quick and then move on to somebody else.
How did you like being part of 3 Count?
Oh, that was a blast. And wrestling is a blast. It's so fun. And the 3 Count angle was great. I like to dance, and obviously I like to sing too, so it was all good.
I'm going to ask a few fan questions on here. How did you like when you destroyed Fat Mark Madden, somebody says?
Oh, that was kind of fun. He was panicky about the whole ordeal. So he got what he got. It was all work. And then see the people that were then going around saying that I stiffed him up real good, and nothing could be further from the truth. He was totally fine. But yeah, it was fun to beat on Big Fat Mark.
What did you do with your history degree, someone's asking?
I did, I started wrestling. There's not much you can do with history. I was wrestling about being a teacher, but I knew I didn't want to be. I dropped my brother off. He was coaching football for a high school team, and all the little punk kids were there. And I'm like, oh my God, I'll get in trouble for murdering one of these guys if I was a teacher. So I started venturing off to be an attorney, and then all hell broke loose. I beat up a cop's son, got 180 days, did that, and while I was doing that, I got out on work release, and my friends started hammering on the UFC, calling them every day. Hey, we got this guy, it's built for him, it's made for him. So I went and met with the booker at the time, and over the phone he said, well, I might have a 6'8" guy that weighs 350 pounds and I want to fight him. And my friend goes, do you want to fight this guy? I go, sure, as long as he doesn't go to jail, I'm not going to jail for it. I just tried that out. I don't like it. And so I showed up with my fighting gear in my bag and said, yeah, I want to do this. And then next thing you know, he's like, what's in the bag? I'm like, where's the 6'8" guy? He goes, you'd fight for free? You're crazy. I'm like, I don't know. Let's do it. And then he's like, well, there's no guy. I just said that. And as that went down the way, July 5th came, and I was Ultimate Fighting changed my day, or changed my life on that one night, July 14th.
Someone says thank you for making fighting with beards cool back in the day, And what was your toughest MMA match of your career?
I'm glad you appreciate my beard. I would say this, that Oleg Taktarov was probably my toughest match. We were kind of equally prepared for each other, so it went on for quite some time, and was a gut check, but it was fun, even though I lost.
If you were still in your prime and could go back and amateur wrestle any wrestler in their prime, who would it be?
You know, I was pretty blessed. I wrestled with a lot of great guys. Stephen Neal, Tully Thompson, Mark Schultz. And I don't know, no one really sticks out like, God, I really want to try my medal with him. I just do my thing, and win or lose, I don't know, maybe Stephen Neal would be fun. He was quite the athlete.
Any favorite WCW match?
There was quite a few, and that was all great, and I guess I'd have to say just because Big Al was probably the funnest time.
Big Al, okay. And did you have much contact with Hulk Hogan in your WCW days?
As much as you can with Hulk, because he's kind of standoffish. But yeah, I did hang out with him once or twice.
Is there anyone back there in those days? There was known to be a lot of cliques in the dressing room. Was there anyone that you found to be particularly a dick in the backstage WCW?
I don't think I could tell you all the dicks that were there. They were full of themselves, and you just take it as par for the course. They didn't affect me either way. I didn't go there. It was whatever. But if you were Joe Blow and you were to meet some of these guys, or most of these guys, they were all dicks. Back in WCW days, they had the females try to shoot promos. And I always tried to get in before them because they were take 400, take 401, take 0402. Gino's like he would be working with them, he'd just be like so pissed off. Like, all you have to do is remember one line.
Would you consider fighting Rick Steiner now, if someone were to book that match?
Like I said, I just got done with a liver transplant, but if you want to go out in front, we can fight. I don't care. I'm down for fighting. They can bash me up, put some stitches in my face, and I'd laugh about it, knock my teeth out. They've been already knocked out.
What's the heaviest weight you ever fought at?
Oh, probably 278. Not that much.
And did you do much cardiovascular training before your fights?
Yes, I did. I used to run a lot of repeats. And I happen to think, because I had a series of heart attacks when I died on the table, I happen to believe that all my training and sprinting and running around the track probably saved me, because they had to massage my heart and everything. And I believe that my healthy heart pulled through. So,
what's the most important advice you would give to a MMA fighter? I know it's a lot different than no holds barred, but maybe MMA fighter or a boxer. Yeah,
well, you have to make sure that you are a fighter or a boxer or a wrestler. It has to be your passion. You see Mick Jagger singing with the Rolling Stones, you just say, I want to be a rock and roll star. God, I bet you he has fun, private jets and everything else. No, it's got to be a passion within. I think if you do your passion, it's not like you're working. It's just fun.
Do you still keep in contact with any of the people you worked with in wrestling?
Oh, I touch base with Norman Smiley now and then. That's about it. See, I was kind of like an outcast, which is fine with me because that's kind of my personality. And so I wasn't involved in these cliques that truly were around. I was kind of like the guy that bounced around the ball. You know, they would bounce me around, like one clique would be all in on it, and then another one, and then another one.
What's your opinion on the UFC Hall of Fame?
Well, let's put it this way, Tito's in it. He couldn't, yeah.
And before I shut down the fan question part of this, do you want to introduce your wife on here since you're getting married? If she wants to, I won't force her. But.
Oh yes, Sally. She's a great woman, and she's right over there. I don't know if your camera turns or not.
No.
I can turn this one.
This is Sally.
Hi.
And she's not my wife yet. We have a couple more days.
Yes.
And I never thought I'd say that.
Hi.
Hello.
How did you guys meet?
Walking down the street.
Oh, really?
About
Yeah. On Main Street in Huntington.
And then about 2 weeks later, we were riding across the nation on my Harley.
Wow.
That fast.
Yeah.
No,
Almost 5 years.
No arguments either. Usually I would think that I would have thrown her off by then, but no. She made it.
33 states and 10,000 plus miles later.
We made it all the way back here, so she has to be something special.
Yeah.
Someone says that she's gorgeous, and congratulations to you.
Thank you so much. We're very grateful.
And we haven't discussed. I'll cut this for a second.
Thank you.
And just to wind it down here, what's your opinion on Dana White now?
You know what? I think he's kind of funny. I don't really have a care about him either way. You know, he is what he is. Talk about a publicity whore. He's definitely one of them. But then again, look at his bank account and what he's done. So if you're in it for just that, he hit a home run.
What do you see for the future of MMA and No Holds Barred?
Oh, well, I think as long as there's been mankind, there's been fights. So who knows what's going to happen next? I don't know. I never thought it was going to be what it is now. It came full circle. It was all a bunch of martial arts clowns. Now they just added another word, mixed martial arts. And they're starting to take over. And the pure honesty of it, kind of has been slipping through their hands with like sand.
And did you hear about this recent bare knuckle fight thing they had in Wyoming? Bass Rutten was the president, but it wasn't his fault. But apparently very few of the fighters ended up getting paid. And Chris Liebing, I don't know if you know of him, but he was involved in it. Phil Baroni didn't get paid.
Well, first of all, what kind of bozo is out there that thinking bare knuckle fighting is going to save you or what make it more hardcore? They're just looking for a gimmick to get over. And I'm the first one that brought gloves to the whole thing. No one else, not a boxing glove, actual fighting gloves. I asked at the fighter meeting, John and Big John McCarthy, I said, can I wear these gloves, which I modified these gloves, and they took out the little plastic bar they had in it to hold on to, so you could actually grab and do anything. And I'll never forget, the whole room laughed. I'm like, and Big John, he's like a football goof, a big, like, one of those guys in high school that are like, rah, 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 where's my Letterman jacket? There. Mix that in with a little cop background, and that's used to get Big John. Anyways, he goes, well, if you want to wear those gloves, go ahead. And needless to say, you saw what I did to everybody in that show. They realized you can't punch and not hurt your hands if you know how to throw a punch and you're relatively strong. So this bare knuckles stuff, they're just trying to find a new thing to do. And it doesn't surprise me in any bit that Boss Rutan's involved in it. So I don't think we'll see bare knuckle fighting 2. Let's put it that way.
No, well, actually, that was the 2, but I don't think there'll be a 3.
Nah, I don't think so, 3. You know, I was thinking about shirts, and because of the number 3. And you know how they have this Me Too movement, all the chicks, all the women? I'm thinking about coming out with a shirt, Me 3. You know, like, they need somebody to put them back into where they belong. I used to always, like, think Saudi Arabia was out of their mind for not letting women drive, but now that I kind of think of it, I kind of agree with them, because women don't know how to drive. I mean, so that's 2 things: they don't know how to fight and they don't know how to drive. I wonder if Rhonda knows how to drive.
And since you bring up Saudi Arabia, I just have to ask you what you think of WWE's put on 2 events there. Apparently, they were paid somewhere around $30 million an event, and there was a lot of propaganda in the first one for Saudi Arabia, and they did the second one after the murder of the journalist.
Saudi or whatever,
yeah.
The Turkish guy or the Turkish embassy.
Yeah.
And what was the question?
Just what if you have any problem or if you see any issue with WWE?
Well, they don't like alcohol, so if it was pre-liver days, I wouldn't have liked it at all. Because much like women can't drive, they don't let you drink. So, other than that, I don't know. Saudi Arabia is Saudi Arabia, you know. They're lucky they have oil.
And you have no social media for any fans watching this?
No, I fly under the radar screen. I don't really do much, so this is like a fun little trip. I like rapping with you. No, I don't. I'm not out there, but I'm getting this urge to do a little bit of a comeback of sorts and put my 2 cents in on things that are blatantly, obviously untrue and made up and manufactured, just so the pussies of the world can involve themselves and be part of it. See, you look me fighting on TV, you can't say, oh, in your drunken moment, you say, oh, I could kick that guy's ass. Yeah, right. But the point is they're allowing all these people. It's like soccer moms. Now you have your little MMA moms. And I went into a gym that I've been training at, and I went in a little late, and I was pounding on the bag a little bit, and all these munchkins come in. I thought Conan O'Brien or whatever his name is. That's hard for me to say. I don't know why. I thought he was one of them. They are all
You're probably like me. You don't care about lightweights either way.
It's terrible, but you know what? That's their audience. That's the people that watch it, and they're the ones with the biggest mouth, and they're all little crybabies. Like, oh yeah, fatso, I bet you can do this or that. And you couldn't even load the bar with what I work out with. So they would be tired. They'd need a crane, hydraulic pump to put the plates on.
How important is the trash talking aspect? You were pretty good at it.
Yeah, it was just because, you know what, it just comes to me naturally because it's the truth. It's not like I have to sit around and come up with something like an angle that I'm going to work or anything like that, but just go down the list, and they're all honest things. I mean, if you don't like honesty, then you don't like me, and I don't lose any sleep over it. And it's like, in the end, it's about truth and honesty, and it's a big sham, a lot of this stuff. Like I said, Ronda Rousey, Conor O'Brien, or whatever his name is, McGregor, whatever his name is, he is the furthest thing from the truth. And that's maybe why I have a little here's and there's when I think of Dana. It's like he just perpetuated a sham with his billionaire boyfriends and, everything else. So.
Oh, one guy, I almost forgot to ask you about this. I don't know if you were paying attention to it or not, but CM Punk in MMA.
You know what? Norman told me about that. It was coming up, and I'm like going, are you kidding me? And I had just seen him passing when I'm passing the channels by and stuff like that. I think I get killed in that. And I don't know anything about him because I was laying in the ICU for a long time. And before that, I was living every day, just barely living every day. And so he wasn't on my radar screen, but did he get his ass handed to him, or?
Yes, terrible. The first time by a decent fighter, the second time by another 0-1 fighter.
Trying to get him over.
Yeah, and it failed. It was an embarrassment. Dana said that it shouldn't even have been on Fight Pass, let alone a pay-per-view.
Right, and like we all know what I think of Dana.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be on there. He helps to have billionaire friends.
Yeah, but the guy, there's been one backstage wrestling fight he'd been in, and he got knocked out in a matter of about 30 seconds. So why he thought he could be MMA with no martial arts background, I really don't know.
Well, so that just is more to the fact that people like that think these things when they're not really real. So, I could do that and I could do this and that. Well, honestly, these weight classes, which they came up with a weight class for Tito, they stumbled all into this. There's no way, because I've had a few conversations with Dana White, and he's not the sharpest tool in the shed, but he stumbled into these things, and he couldn't have thought this out before it happened. Dana had to come up with a weight class for Tito and Chuck because he used to train them. He was a boxer-size coach, and he used to boxer-size coach his billionaire friends. They were so embarrassed they had to go put a ring and everything else underneath in the basement of a building they owned. Because God knows, I would pay big dollars to see Dana teaching his boxer-size things to his billionaire buddies. Maybe sitting there with his what are those shorts called?
I don't know.
Dolphin shorts, striped red and white, like Richard Simmons. Think of Dana like Richard Simmons, sweating to the oldies.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so he would train Tito and Chuck and them in boxing and UFC fighting. And so when they bought it from Meyerowitz, they had to, what's the word? They had to, Tito couldn't fight anybody over 205 pounds because he'd get slapped around, and like he often did, he would cry at physical pain. Like, you can cry all day long if it's something emotional and it breaks your heart, but ow! Then you're in the wrong game. Anyways, Tito, he couldn't fight open weight classes, and so they made the 203-pound weight class, something like that, because he couldn't get down to 200. And they just stumbled into weight classes, and again, he stumbled into Ronda Rousey as in the background of something. And so then they had to put her on TV, and the women, it shocks me that it's like guys wearing makeup. It's not meant to be. So that's what we all end up, and it shocks me how over it is. It's crazy, and that's all because basically most of the world's not like me. Everybody's like a bunch of pussies. They don't die on the sword. They don't know. They can think they understand that mentality by picking up ropes and swinging sledgehammers into a tire. I mean, Jesus Christ. Throw the medicine ball against the wall, and then we're going to shake ropes, and just foolishness.
And do you have anything you want to say to your fans to close this interview off?
Yeah, well, I've been kind of out of commission for a long time, and to your like or dislike, I might be back out on the scene causing some ripples in the big ocean.
And I've had a few people ask me this that knew I was going to interview you. Is there anywhere people can write to you or anything if they want to get an autograph?
I don't have any social media. None. There's people that are out there that say they're me, and my wife-to-be over here is kind of on top of those things, and she's going to start cleaning it up. So you'll be able to contact me on Twitter, whatever those little bird things and all that kind of stuff. I don't know what it is, but she does. And we're going to be out there.
Tank Abbott Podcast.
At Tank Abbott Podcast. Twitter. We're going to put it in the description of the full interviews just so people can look it up on there too.
Yeah. It's not verified. Someone stole his name. His is not verified. That
is his.
At Tank Abbott Podcast.
Oh, okay.
That's not verified?
Somebody stole Tank Abbott.
Yeah.
Literally, we're trying to get it back.
Yeah. That's something important that you guys should really work on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They did. They stole. There's a ton of pages out there. He does have one, and it's called Tank Abbott Podcast. It's on Twitter. There's people do not realize it's him, but that's his Twitter.
Okay.
I didn't even know that.
This is why you're getting married, so you can have someone take care of all your
Yeah, basically. That's how I take care of my wallet.
Yeah. And make sandwiches too, I hope.
I make the best sandwiches.
The only thing is you can't drive.
And I can drive.
No.
I'm a special one.
Hey, quiet. You're not supposed to tell people that you drive now.
Fix me.
A woman gets out of line, you have to fix them. True statement. I'm into tough love.
Yeah, I can see that. Well, thanks thanks a lot for doing this with us, and we wish you the best in your recovery.
Oh, I'm over the mountain. I'm skiing down the other side right now. Pretty soon, I'm in the gym, swatting the bag, hitting the punch mitts, making everything happen.